I 27F can hear a noise in the house. My fiancé 37 meters swears he can't and I'm going mad. I will start by saying that I have struggled with insomnia from my teens. As well as this, my mum had bad tinnitus brought on by a car accident, to the point that she now has a hearing aid. I don't know if that runs in families, but could be relevant. My fiancé and I have been together for 7 years and have a wonderful relationship. He is very attentive and thoughtful and we make a great team. But, I'm sorry this is so long. Last week I struggled to sleep because of a high-pitched noise running through the house. I assumed it was next door's boiler or the fridge as we live in tightly packed housing, so really it could be anything. I was awake until the sun rose and from years of periods of no sleep, this experience can make feel distressed and emotional. When my fiancé woke up to me crying in the morning, I explained about the noise and he kind of looked amused and said he can't hear anything. The next night the same thing happened and sometimes I can hear it in the day while we both work from home. This basically means extremely erratic sleep and periods of me in distress up till recently. I've gone through phases of investigating the house for the noise, to conceding that maybe I just have tinnitus like my mum. Right now I'm sure it's the house as I wore earplugs 2 nights ago which has really helped. And, whilst I type this in bed I can hear it so loud. So, the question remains, can he really not hear it? If so, why would he want me to feel crazy? Or maybe it is me. The reason I'm not sure what to do is because he has done this before. Once I could smell damp or mold in the house and my asthma was worsening. He swore he couldn't sense anything and kind of smiled. This went on for weeks until I had enough and pulled out all the furniture and found horrific mold growing up the wall in the bedroom. His response was a shrug and I still felt crazy. Even looking back now it makes me upset. There doesn't seem to be anything I can say that makes him understand as I'm the one that looks crazy here. He's made no effort to look for the sound source on my behalf or help. It's just not his responsibility and I can tell by his smile he thinks it's me being hysterical. Especially from the lack of sleep. I'm just completely and utterly at a loss. I have mild tinnitus and can sometimes hear batteries in my son's toys when they are out. It makes an awful high-pitched noise and aggravates my tinnitus. Check the batteries around the house. It's the craziest thing. When I worked in childcare I could always find the toys with bad batteries even if they were still somewhat working. If earplugs work to decrease the volume of the sound, then it's not a problem with your ears and it is indeed a sound in the room. Your husband may either have poor hearing, or the pitch may be too high for his ears to recognize. As for him shrugging off your concerns and making you feel crazy, that's another issue. He's made no effort to look for the sound source on my behalf or help. It's just not his responsibility and I can tell by his smile he thinks it's me being hysterical. The noise sounds very frustrating, but I would be more concerned over your boyfriend's reaction here. Even if the sound didn't exist, though I was going to say what others had about people hearing different pitches, I would be concerned at my partner being so upset over an imagined noise that they believe to be true. Is he normally this unsupportive when you have worries, concerns? As some other people have said, the real issue here is the way he acts in response to your distress. Whatever the cause of the noise, tinnitus, auditory hallucinations, or an actual noise that his ears aren't sensitive enough to hear, he ought to be concerned about you and the fact you're upset, not smirking at you being hysterical. For the record, to me it sounds like your ears are just more sensitive to high-pitched noises than his. My partner 30M can't hear bats like I 26F can, and he couldn't hear a loud, intermittent, high-pitched noise that used to happen at my old flat either. Men are more likely to engage in behavior that damages your hearing, and hearing deteriorates with age. There are probably a lot of high-pitched sounds you can hear that he can't. He is smiling when you are in distress? Is this how you want to be treated? Check your electronics. Something like a TV on standby, rather than switched off at the wall. A small speaker or headphones that are plugged in, etc. When I was younger I remember one night I was driven demented by this tiny clicking noise in my bedroom. I turned my bedroom upside down and eventually found that my headphones were plugged into my portable CD player. I did say I was younger, and letting off a constant faint clicking noise. High-pitched sounds are often outside of the range of some people's hearing. Once, I was ordering lunch at a pizza place in a mall food court and this horrible high-pitched noise was killing me. I mentioned it to the girl behind the counter and she said, "Oh yeah, that's the oven. Nobody who can hear that can work here. We lose a lot of new hires that way." There's also been incidents where entire neighborhoods have half the residents able to hear horrible noises. In short, get both of your hearing tested. I'll bet you've got a much larger range than him. Then, look into devices to help find the source of a bad high-pitched noise. There may even be apps to help. I often get this too. There was a high-pitched real annoying sound in my partner's room one night that I managed to fall asleep to only for him to wake me and ask about the noise. From experience I associate the noise with electronics plugged into the wall but not in use, trying to charge a charged phone etc. Happens with batteries in toys or cameras too. Really annoying. Superpower though because you can hear when a phone is done charging. Go around the house and unplug non-essential plugs from the sockets to see if the noise stops. If not, sorry, I don't know. As we age, our ability to hear high pitches diminishes. Here's a test that illustrates this. It may be fluorescent lights, they squeal and buzz as they expire. Or a smoke detector batteries dying. But everyone's ability to hear and smell is extremely individual. It's bad that he doesn't sympathize with you, but there's lots and lots of times that my wife hears or smells something and it really bothers her but I don't hear or smell it at all. I can understand how he could not really know how to react if you're half accusing him of gaslighting you over a sound he doesn't hear and a smell he doesn't smell. Also, there's not a lot he can do to hunt down a sound he can't hear. Good luck. Check out the app Fifox. It has a sensor that is a spectrum analyzer which can help you locate inaudible tones. Can you record this sound? Perhaps your husband just doesn't have a very good sense of smell or hearing, or perhaps this noise you keep on hearing really is just in your head. That doesn't mean that you are crazy, but it could be a sign of tinnitus. My ex-girlfriend had a machine that was supposed to emit a high-pitched sound only spiders could hear to scare them away. No idea if it works. On her birthday she had about 8 guests where 2 could hear a sound that they couldn't stand. After much looking around we realized it was the device that tries to scare spiders. I am not convinced the people weren't spiders in disguise, but if they weren't, it's a pretty good example of a sound not everyone can hear. I can hear things a lot of other people can't hear. And also smell things a lot of other people can't smell. For example, I can hear my neighbor's TV through the walls. She's not doing anything wrong, it's at a reasonable volume, my hearing is just incredibly sensitive. When my ex stayed over he could never hear it. In an old apartment I could smell what was probably an old pet accident in humid weather. So strong it would wake me up. Just a stale, awful smell. My ex couldn't smell it. 43F for point of reference. As we grow older we lose the ability to hear high-pitched noises. It could simply be that you can hear it, and he cannot. Seriously a thing. I'm less concerned about the sound and more concerned about a husband who laughs at his sobbing wife. WTF. I remember reading a story on Reddit about someone who had a hamster guinea pig type of pet. They moved from one house to another and this pet went from being a normal calm animal to angry from the news move. The user explained that because of the behavior was so erratic they chalked it up to the new move. Years later they discovered a device within the walls that let out a noise to deter insects and pests from making nests within the walls and home. Not sure if this is your cause of the ringing but could be worth looking into. I hope you find a solution up. A friend of mine used to work in acoustics at the university. One day a woman phoned up asking for advice. She kept hearing a very low humming sound in her house and it kept her awake at night and nobody else could hear it, not her family or friends or neighbors. She phoned up as a last resort because she thought she was going crazy and asked if they had any equipment that could measure these low frequencies. He turned up at her house with some colleagues and they couldn't hear anything either. Then they got the microphone with frequency analyzer out and there it was, a distinct tone so low that people can't hear it, but for some reason she could. She still didn't know what it was, but just to know that it really was there was reassuring for her. This happened to my parents. Their office was in a manufacturing facility, on the 9th floor. Several times a month, my mom would smell something horrible, mainly in my father's office, that appeared to come from some manufacturing process on a lower floor. My father did not smell anything, and dismissed my mom's concern. She complained to the super, who basically did nothing. This went on for years. My dad ended up with an unusual brain tumor, and died from it. You aren't crazy, and your fiancé needs to take your concerns seriously. Is there anyone you can enlist to help locate the sound? Also, it seems to me, you and your fiancé need to have a conversation about his attitude. He should be helping you with this issue. You are, or should be a team. As people age, their ability to hear certain frequencies decreases. His brain may have gone blind to the noise. Oftentimes, once you hear something, you cannot unhear it. Have you tried something like a white noise machine? Some of those thunderstorm videos on YouTube? Something to drown out the sound. Do you hear the sound when you are somewhere other than home? It is very possible that what you can hear is electricity. Electricity makes a very high-pitched whine that most people can't hear. The ability to hear it often runs in families, so ask your mom or some other close relatives to come and check it out and see if they can hear it. My mother, my brother, and I all have the ability to hear it, and I also developed tinnitus later in life. You should only hear it coming from things like junction boxes though. If it's suddenly started up in your house, you may well have an electrical fault, so it might be a good idea to call an electrician. Your fiancé's attitude is another problem. He shouldn't be so dismissive of you. You should have a serious talk with him about this, seeing as it's not the first time he's done it. Check speakers and any audio devices for a whining noise, as well as all electronics. Electrical devices can produce coil whine, which can be quite annoying, although I've never heard coil whine that loud before. Additionally, AC compressors can emit a whining noise, along with almost any other item that has moving parts, or an electrical current running through it. Edit. Don't forget about oft-overlooked electrical devices, such as light fixtures, power adapters, power bricks, your fuse box and wall outlets, although please exercise caution when observing such devices. Sometimes I've heard certain plugs, especially AC adapters, make this kind of sound. Your boyfriend has probably lost the ability to hear at that frequency since he's older. I can kinda see him not knowing what to do if he literally can't hear it, but the shrugging at mold thing is concerning. Once had a small handheld game with dying batteries make me nuts. Nobody else could hear it. A toddler had stuck it between the mattress and box spring in another room. The sound was real. Oh so, terribly real. Took a noise level app to find it. Sounds like you just have better hearing. It's a curse. I hate hearing all the 60 Hz at night. My husband heard a sound that I couldn't hear for months. I told him I couldn't hear it, but I never belittled him or made him feel crazy. He finally figured out it was his CPU and was able to fix it. I can't tell you how many times my girlfriend wakes me up in the middle of the night, convinced something spilled all over the bed, or there's people in the corner of the room, bugs crawling all over her. She'll tell me random stuff about our dogs and that we have more dogs than we really have. She insults me all the time. Life is great. I have had the same experience with my husband. One evening, I could hear this beeping noise, like a high-pitched alarm going off, but whatever device it was coming from was far away, if that makes sense. My husband heard nothing. I searched the whole darn house, and finally tracked it down to our master bath. At first, I thought it might be coming from our neighbor's air conditioner, which is right outside our bathroom window. Then I realized it was coming from our bathroom vanity. I pulled everything out from the cabinet below, and still, beep, 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 beep. It was driving me bananas. I finally pulled open one of the drawers and found the sound was coming from an old thermometer. I guess the battery was dying? It soon stopped, and I threw it away. Thoughts: if you have any old school electronics like plug-in radios, try unplugging them. I've got one that hums even when turned off, and the only way to eliminate hum is to unplug. Household electricity can create a 60-cycle hum if wiring is vibrating up against something doubtful, but for instance an electric guitar plugged into an amplifier which is on can pick it up and hum. Also, fluorescent lights hum. Turn off and unplug everything. I mean everything. Power up one item at a time and listen. Good luck, and your husband sounds like a real piece of work. I all of a sudden started hearing a noise in our bedroom. It was a grinding sound. Could not figure out what it was. Then I realized we had a DVR installed for our TV in our bedroom, and it was the hard drive making the noise. My husband never heard it, but then he doesn't hear most stuff. Sorry you are going through this. Hope you find the culprit. Sounds like tinnitus. I have that. It happens randomly. Maybe try to see your doctor. And also when it happens, play music or get up and run water. It forces the fibers in your ear to focus in other sounds. But I could be allergies, inflammation, etc. There's been a lot of great suggestions on here about what it could be and why your husband can't hear it. He's so dismissive though. And you said he was amused the first night. Could he be playing a prank on you? Hey, first, if you cannot find a physical source of that sound, check on the internet what could cause auditory hallucinations. You might be experiencing them. Just an advice, not saying you actually have it. Second, don't give a fuck about what your boyfriend thinks. If this has been bothering you, he should do something. At least he could try checking the house or be with you when you are experiencing this. Pretty amazing you haven't thought about using plugs or recording the sound. It can be scientifically proven or disproven. No need for relationship advice unless he's actually gaslighting you.